12 years of experience working as a consultant for various SAP modules, and I'm having more than 5 years of experience working alone with Vim. Okay. Uh, I have basically worked on different projects for different clients, including oil and gas, travel company, manufacturing company, packaging, and all. So I have worked globally across various industries. And mostly I have worked on the implementation projects and the rollout projects as well as the support ones. Also, with that, I have been providing training from last 6 years for the corporates as well as people like you, like who want to learn Vim and want to make a career forward in the vendor invoice management. So that is all about me. I believe we can start with a short introduction of few people so that I can have a grasp that if you are from what background you are coming, and you can just tell me like what is your expectation basically from this, why you have chosen this training session. So yeah, can we start? Like, can anyone go first if they want?
Yeah, hi Kumar. This is Akshita Chavan. I have done my MCA and I have a 8+ year experience as a BA in Bajaj Finza. So I am looking for this course to for change in profile and to grow in the market. That's it.
Okay. So Akshata, have you worked upon like SAP, any SAP
No,
modules?
no, 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 not at all.
Okay. So meaning you are not aware of the SAP. Uh,
No,
okay.
no.
Fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh, can we have someone next?
Yeah, this is Giri, and I hold 2 years of experience in accounting, and which includes 5 years of experience in SAP FI and user activities. So,
Okay.
since I'm a bit aware of SAP APP, I thought of if I can understand more on SAP VIM, which is relating to the payments and the invoice management. So I thought of looking some more opportunities in this.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Can we have someone next?
Hello, sir. This is Sukumar Karmakar.
Hello.
Hello. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Sir, currently I'm working in a CA firm for 1 year, and also I have done a diploma course on accounts, which duration is 8 months from ICA EduSkills Private Limited. But my graduation are done in BA English Honors. This is arts. So can I do SFE FICO course? I want to know the eligibility criteria of SFE FICO.
Okay, so basically, Sukumar, we are covering the not the SAP FICO part, but it's related to SAP VIM. It's vendor invoice management. FICO and VIM is like something different. It's, you can call it VIM as the submodule of FICO, but yeah, it's not entirely here in these training sessions. You are not going to learn about the FICO. It's going to be the trainings all on vendor invoice management. So yeah, just to let you know.
Okay, sir. So can I do this VIM training?
Yes, you can continue with the VIM training. So basically, to be a VIM consultant, you do not need to have knowledge of FICO. At least you need to understand the business scenarios. That is the most important part. At least you should know that invoices are received, then they are processed and they are posted in the SAP. So what is basically Vim, you can understand, but yeah, it's not compulsory to have knowledge of FICO. Even I am not a FICO consultant, but I work on Vim. So that's not a hard stop for you. You do not need to have the knowledge of SAP FICO. It's good to have knowledge, at least basic knowledge of the finance and the MM side to understand the process. But Vim is completely not related to FICO or MM. Okay, it's good to have the knowledge for that. Yeah.
Actually, sir, when I see posts on job posting or like Naukri.com or others portal, there it is matlab there it is reported that or at least a BCom degree or a finance degree is preferred.
Mm. Yeah, but that's not the case always, Sukumar. What I can tell you, I am an engineer. Actually, I have completed my engineering in technical, like I was in computer science. Uh, but still, I chose to move ahead with the SAP VIM module. It's not like you need to have the what you say the finance or the accounting side degree only to learn the VIM, because it's not always what the business scenario. Many things are covered. So VIM you can think is of as a techno function consultant you are going to be. It's not only the functional part. You will be techno functional. We are not going to have the coding and all. That is like covered with the other SAP module called as ABAP. But yeah, but you are going to be more of a techno functional, having understanding of VIM, how it works, and what are the different enhancements you can have it in VIM, how it supports the SAP basically. Yeah. Anyone next want to go?
Hey Kumar, good morning all. So
Good
this side
morning.
Devin here, Kumar. Yes, I have total 11 of your experience around in SAP 8 plus. Okay, 3 with the domain one, and currently I'm working on Shell oil and gas. And as you know, that oil industry they are looking for the upskilling for BIM and BMS, vendor management system, those kind of skill for my add-on.
Okay, so Deben, you are working for Shell, right?
Shell India, yeah.
Yeah, okay, nice. So yeah, I have also worked upon for the one of the major competitors of Shell
Mm-hmm.
for oil and gas industry, that is Chevron.
Chevron, US
Yeah,
based company, product company,
yes,
yeah.
it's a US based company. So I have implemented vendor invoice management for them back in 2018 or 19, I believe, when they started. So yeah, nice.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh,
Hello Kumar, this is Shanmugh. So I did my master's in business analytics, and I have worked a couple of years as an analyst, and my undergrad is in accounting. Now I wanna like I have few knowledge about SAP MM module and some SD module, and want to pursue switch my career to as an choose as an SAP consultant, and I want to choose like an Vim.
okay, so Shanmugh, I can assume that you have at least a basic knowledge of SAP, like going through the GUI screen and all, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. So that is what I require from you people. So if you are having at least a basic knowledge of like going around in the SAP system, uh, that should be enough. Other than that, you don't need to have any prerequisites like having knowledge of eco or mm. Also, if you don't know SAP, that is also fine. We will cover from it the scratch actually. So from the installation part, I am going to take you to the interview part, till the interview part. So we'll start with the implementation actually, how a project is implemented for vim, and basically we will be covering all the configurations in that. Okay, so yeah.
And is it also covers the open text architect?
Okay, I mean, you mean to say, is it open text archive center?
Yeah, that I mean the landscape of the open text one. So how it is
Yeah, yeah.
work with implementing with SAP and everything.
Yeah. So, in the next, when we start Shanmugh, you will understand. Actually, SAP and OpenText is not something you can call different, separate. So, I will take you to that point. Then
Oh,
you can ask me the question if you have any. Okay.
sure, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone want to go next? Okay. If not, then I. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Because
Yes, I can hear
okay,
you.
very
Please go ahead.
good. Okay, great. Thank you. So, have a very good morning. This is Surendra. I have around 19 years of experience in various areas, like as an end user for SAP. I worked on AP,
Mm-hmm.
AR, GL, and HR as well for 10 years. Then later switched my career to tax. Right now, I was with the Accenture, and then recently I left the job. Now I'm looking out for something different, like VAM. That's what I heard in the industry. It's now has a good demand. That's what
Yeah.
I heard. So I would like to go through the session and see that how does
Yeah,
it
yeah,
work.
sure,
What's
sure.
the
And you people can have questions once we start. Actually, I assume that most of you do not have knowledge like what is Vim and all. So basically, we will
correct?
start from scratch, and then you can have your questions ready. So, and
Sure.
at the last, I will let you know what are we going to cover basically at part of as part of these training sessions, and
Okay.
kind of I can try to show you in this system as well, like what is vim actually. So yeah, let's move ahead with the training, then you will feel more comfortable with this and you can have more questions.
Sure. Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Seeing the time, I think we should start now. Okay, so let me share my screen. Yeah, thank you all for your introduction. So basically, we are going to start the training sessions on vendor invoice management. So as you see on my screen, vendor invoice management, short form, we call it as VIM. And the second line, what you see is for SAP solutions by OpenText. Okay. So what does this line mean actually? So just to make you clear, the vendor invoice management is a product which was created, or you can say which is owned by OpenText. So OpenText is a company who has lot of products in the digitalization process. They use AI, ML, and lot of things to create different software. Like apart from vendor invoice management, they have archive center, content management system, extended ECM, and many more of that. So this is a product which has been introduced by the OpenText company. Now, OpenText and SAP has a very strong partnership. So this solution is basically created for SAP only. So for SAP, this product is seamlessly integrated with that. So OpenText introduced this product to accommodate the business scenarios related to vendors which are um, supported by SAP system. Okay, so that is the reason we call it as SAP solutions by OpenText. Okay, so the next thing, like what is vim? Okay, so vim, as we said, like stands for the vendor invoice management. People call it SAP vim, we call it OpenText vim. That is all fine. Even on the SAP portals, if you see, it will be SAP invoice management. So this is all vim only. It has different names, but the purpose is the same. It is a product which is provided by the OpenText, and it helps. Basically why it is called for SAP solution is the reason is basically is optimizes and automates the process of incoming SAP documents. So you might be knowing that we have SAP system to support the invoices as well. So what happens in the normal process, that invoices are posted into the SAP and the relevant payment is made for the vendors, right? So this is the reason why vim was introduced. Okay, so to basically to automate the processing of the invoices and to have some extra features, like it has many different features which we are going to talk about in the latest slides. Okay, so basically vim was designed to help companies to replace error prone, time consuming, and manual invoice processes with the automated solution. Okay, And this solution basically covers all the SAP types, SAP document types, like vendor invoices, then you can have remittance, delivery notes, sales orders, and all sort of things. But the primary objective and what you are going to see in most of the clients, I can say like more than 95% of the clients, they opt for the vendor invoice management for the vendor invoices only, as the name suggests, also vendor invoices. So basically vim is the product to process the vendor invoices and post the invoices. Okay, so what happens in vim, that you receive the invoices from a vendor, the invoices are processed, validated, and then posted in the SAP for the payment part. Okay, now coming to the next point, SAP Invoice Management or VIM is independent of the SAP technology. Okay, meaning that this product can work on both SAP ERP as well as S4 HANA. For a VIM consultant, it doesn't matter whether you are going to have VIM implemented on the ECC side or you are going to have it on the S4 side. The configurations and everything remains the same for us with the minor changes. Okay. Now, what is basically VIM and how is it integrated with the SAP system? That is the first question you might be having, right? So VIM, as I told, is basically a product or a software, you can say, which is provided by the open text. Okay, so let's start from this scratch. So first, when a client wants to implement vim in their system, how do they purchase it? So there can be two ways of purchasing the vim product. They can either buy the product directly from the open text, who is the owner of the product, or even if you are an SAP person or having knowledge of SAP, you might be knowing that SAP modules, the different modules which we want to implement for the client, we buy it from the SAP marketplace. Okay, so the client has the decision powers to make like how they want to purchase the product. Either they can purchase it directly from the open text or they can purchase it from the SAP marketplace. That depends. So the difference here is basically of the licensing fee cost. There can be the licensing cost difference and there can be some benefits with OpenText or SAP. So that is another topic which is discussed by the infrastructure team along with the infrastructure team. They decide like from where they want to buy this product, either from OpenText or they want to buy it from the SAP marketplace. Okay. Now, talking about Vim, it is just an ABAP add-on. So ABAP is basically the SAP language. Okay, so the whole SAP system is written in the ABAP language. So it's basically, you can say, it's a coding language which is used to create the product. Okay, so that is how like Vim is an ABAP add-on. So entire Vim system has been created with the base of SAP ABAP only. So it's completely written in the SAP ABAP language. Now, to have this product, you just need to get it installed on the SAP system you are using. You do not need to do any sort of integration like how it is going to be integrated with FI, and other modules. You don't need to worry about that. Once you install the Vim software on your system, it's good to use. You don't have to worry about any integration and all. Since this is an ABAP add-on, it's an add-on which is installed on top of the SAP, whether it's a ECC system or a S4 HANA system. And the same way how you work for other modules of SAP, you will be using the same SAP GUI to do the configurations and everything inside the system. Okay, you do not need to go outside of SAP to work with the vendor invoice management. Okay, so let me just show you here a quick glimpse of that.
Kumar, just I had one small question.
Yeah, please go
So
ahead.
it mean so there is no connectivity between whether it will be S4, whether it will be ECC. So it's standalone. So no need
Yes.
to integrate with it. Huh?
Yes,
Okay. So like no different one, like suppose we have, suppose we are going to integrate it with EWM. Suppose EWM is the decentralized one. That time we do some connectivity. So we don't have that kind of concept here.
correct. You just need to install the software, just like
Mm-hmm.
what you do with other software. Like if you want to use any app on your phone, what you do, you just download it from Google or Apple Play Store, right? Then you install it and you are good to use. You don't do worry about any connectivity. You do not have to turn the Bluetooth on. You do not have to connect it with anything, right? It's just the internet and the software installed. That's fine, you can use it, right? It's automatically integrated in the background. Similarly, Vim is just an ABAP add-on which is installed on top of SAP. Once it is installed, you are good to use it. You do not have to worry about the integration, how I will integrate with the Vim system so that whenever a vendor invoice is posted, the GRIR account is debited and the vendor account is credited. What should be the GL populated and these sort of things? You do not need to worry about that. It's all integrated in the backend and no manual configuration or any development is required for that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
So now this is the SAP GUI which I am opening. This is how the SAP GUI screen looks like for the people who have not seen SAP. Just I'm just covering this. So this is the system which is 23.4. Okay, so just to tell you the
You don't
current
see.
late, yeah.
You're
You don't
sharing the
see.
screen now.
Uh,
Screen is not visible.
okay, yeah. Let me check. Sorry. Can you see it now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let me start from the. So this is the SAP GUI screen basically. So if you are an SAP consultant, you might be aware that this is the place from where you can access the different systems what you have. So currently the name given here is S4 VIM 23.4, but that is not true. That is only for the training purpose that we have given. It's the same SAP system which you have it here. Okay, so it can be, there can be like as people might be knowing, we can have three different systems like the configuration client, the development client you call it, then we have the user acceptance client, or you can call it QA client, then we have the production, right? Similarly, you will have a SAP system here. So this is the SAP system. Don't think it as of a Vim system. It's a SAP system actually. Okay, so you click on SAP system and just let me provide my ID and password.
Kumar, again, screen is not visible. It
Oh,
went off.
Also keep your screen full screen. It's like very small.
yeah, actually, I'm sharing my entire screen. Can you see my SAP screen now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, not right. The SAP GUI. So here,
Again, we
if
lost your screen.
oh, not sure why this is happening like this.
Then you need to present the entire screen instead of long.
Yeah, I'm presenting the entire screen only. Now,
Yes.
okay, just let me know when the screen sharing goes off. The reason I'm not sure why I'm facing this issue. Okay, so this is the SAP screen where you can see where you work for different modules of SAP like FI, MM and all. So what you do basically, if you are an FI or MM consultant, SD, PP, PM, any consultant, you go to the SPRO transaction, right? This is the SPRO transaction. You go inside the IMG transaction and here you do your configuration like for the FI MM side. Okay, in this system, we already have the SAP VIM installed, right? So, as you can see, like you don't need to install the what you say, like integrate the VIM system with the SAP system. So, if I go to this system, go to status, 1 minute, then click on product version. Then I go to install product versions. So if I see here, I have the S4 invoice management by OpenText, which has been installed on this SAP system. The release pack is 23.4 SP0. Okay, so these are the different components which has been installed by the for the OpenText to work, the OpenText vim. Okay, and the S4 HANA version is 2023. Okay, so in this way you can find out whether the SAP vim system has been installed on your system or not, and what is the current version of you. So just to let you know, the latest version of vim is 23.4 SP2. Okay, and when you work with any client, we prefer to work with the n-1 version always, because there can be some bugs which has been identified in the latest version, so that can be an issue. That is the reason we prefer to work with the n-1 version, the newest minus one, if it is feasible. But based on the client budget and all, we can decide what vim version basically we want to use. So in the vim versions we do not have like many changes, if I say. Okay, like we do not have many changes in the different vim versions. It's just whenever a new feature has been enabled. So like 23.4, with 23.4 sp2, the vim supports the e-invoicing part for the France. So that is one of the new feature which has been introduced. So similarly, there will be new features which will be introduced in different versions of the vim. Okay. Now this is the how you just install the vim system, and you are good to use it with the transaction codes only. We use the transaction codes as similar to SAP. We use it in other modules of the SAP to access the vim. Okay, so you just need to install it and you can be good to go to use the software itself. So this is basically how vim is integrated with SAP, I can say. Like in general, to cut it short, I can tell you that there's no integration actually. It's just the installation and some activities needs to be performed to be able to use the vim system for the client. Okay. Any questions still here before I jump into the next slide, which tells us why basically vim was introduced?
What? Who does this installation? Is that a technical consultant or how is it like?
Yes, so the installation would be performed by the basis team. Actually, the basis or infrastructure you call it, they will be doing the installation of the product. Okay, so basically, this product is downloaded from the SAP Marketplace or OpenText in the format .sar. Okay, so they are SAR files. We call it as component, you can say. So they just install the components in for on the SAP system, and then we have concept of basis sets, which we will see later on. So those needs to be activated to be able to have your vim system installed on your SAP system. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but the installation part is very easy. I can tell you, I will show you how they do the installation. Not actually a practical session how they install it, but yeah, I will just give you a brief knowledge. So, like in someone when you are being interviewed, if someone asks you what is the transaction basically used to install the Vim system. So, as a SAP consultant, if you have ever worked on implementation, might be you may be knowing how the installation works, but even if you don't know, I will just give you high level idea. So basically how this is done. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
What is the timeline for the Vim implementation, project implementation?
that depends on the complexity actually. So if I tell you the last project of like what I took example of Chevron oil and gas, so it took around 2.5 years for the project for completion. But I have worked on project which has ended in 6 months as well, 3 months also. It depends on the complexity and what are the business scenarios they want to cover, and how you are implementing your project. So basically, before you implement the Vim for any of the client, you should have the FI, MM, and other modules of SAP already implemented, or you can run it in parallel, right? You need company codes, you need GL accounts, you need cost centers to post the invoices. So until and unless these configurations are not completed, these discussions are not completed, you cannot test the Vim system, right? You do not have a company code. How you will test? You cannot test. Even if you have configured, built, it won't work. You cannot be it. Basically, it uses the concept of SAP only, right? So how many company codes are there, how many GL accounts you are going to use, what are the type of GL accounts, these needs to be in place first before you implement the Vim system and start testing it. Because if you are building a solution, you will be testing it. And for testing, you will be needing the test data, which is coming from these FIMM modules only. The Vim consultant doesn't go and create the company codes or the GL accounts, right? This is basically the FI or R2R team who will be creating. So it's not like when you go install the software, the task is done. It basically covers different phases, okay, where you will have the initial discussions with the client about the requirement, what are the different requirements they have, what are the business scenarios they want to execute in the vendor invoice management. Then you will do a fit gap analysis. So there are various processes involved in this. And basically, if I show you just an high level, I will not deep dive into this. So basically, these are the end-to-end implementation phases in SAP VIM project. So what are the different steps covered in each phase we will be covering? Okay, what are the different procedures, process which are covered in these? We will be covering that as well. So not to worry about that. Any other questions?
One final question from my side. See, since SAP is already tightly integrated with all other modules and AP is already in place, what is the value addition this open text will give to the client, and why is this required for to implement?
Yes, that we will be covering in this diagram. And later on, I will tell you why actually SAP went for Vim. So see, it does not give them very much benefit to have the Vim solution in place, right? It's a product owned by OpenText. Then why do SAP want to have it tightly integrated with SAP? There must be some reasons, right, which SAP cannot support and which is being provided by the OpenText Vim product. So that we will be covering now. Okay, so let me first go through this slide, and then I will go in detail about your question, what basically this is. Okay. Yeah. So on my screen, you see the typical AP business flow. Okay. So what is basically AP? AP is the accounts payable team. Okay. So you can call it accountant, anything you want. So basically, accounts payable are the people who process the invoice which has been received by the vendors. So basically, vendors are the person who sends the invoice and they want to receive the payments. Okay, so accounts payable are the people who will be processing those invoices which has been received by the vendor. They will post it into the system and it will be released for the payment, where the payment will be done with for the vendor. Okay, so in this typical flow, what you see, the first horizontal row is vendor. So vendor is the person who will be sending the invoices. They can send the invoices through various channels, right? Either they can send it through mail, either they can use the EDI channel, which is the electronic channel, either they can fax it, okay, or if they have a technical system and they want to send an IDOC in the form of IDOCs, they can send in any formats, right? So the vendor sends the invoices. okay, to the client. Now at the client side, we have the different roles, and those roles have different responsibilities, correct? So let's take an example of the mail channel. So the vendor sent an invoice in the mail as a PDF copy. Now that invoice was received at the client side into the mail room. So the mail room can be anything like Outlook, anyone, any mail. Okay. So the invoice was received on the mail. Now the person sitting in the mail room received the invoice, and then that person has to segregate the invoice, right? So if suppose we are working with four different vendors, okay, now those four different vendors can be sitting at four different places in the world, and it might be possible that I am an Indian, I cannot process a German invoice, right? I do not have knowledge of German invoices, I don't know the German language, I cannot process it. Now the person sitting as the in the mail room has the responsibility to segregate that invoice for different regions, for different peoples to process. Might be the person A will be processing some different set of invoices, person B will be processing the different set of invoices. So they will have to segregate the invoices in the mail room. After the segregation is done, they will send it to the accounting department, where the invoice needs to be checked, verified, and all. So in the accounting department, they will have to send the email which they have received, they will forward it to the accounting department person, or they can take a printout of the invoice and take a manual copy to them. So in this way, the mail room will send the invoice to the accounting department, where the invoice will be indexed. So indexing meaning the data will be checked and all the validations will be done. Now at the time of validation, if the accounting department found some problem, they will again send that invoice to some particular set of people to verify the details, the problems they have it, like if there is any tax issue or any sort of issue with the invoice, they will park the invoice. So parking means that only that the invoice will not be posted, and for now it is parked. At for the parked invoices, various steps will be done, like there will be a department of coder who will be providing the cost objects for that invoice, like to which account it should be posted, to which account it should be recorded, the posted amount and all. So these sort of things will happen. Then it will need approvers as well, so it will go for approval also, with some details. If the approvers reject the invoice, then it will go back to the parking process. Then if the invoice is not correct, it will be sent to the vendor back. So basically the agenda here is to show you, like, we have different roles working rigorously to just post a single invoice, right? It has to go through multiple roles, multiple people, uh, and in this there can be chances that the invoice has been faked or the details on the invoice has been changed. Since you are getting multiple copies, right, there will be one copy which will be sent to the approver, there will be one copy which is sent to the coder, another copy will be in the accounting document. So there will be many copies of invoices which will be generated here, which will be creating a mess. Now if there are multiple approvers sitting at different places, it will be sent through the mail to them to approve the invoice. Now they can take n number of days to approve the invoice, and that will be resulting into the penalty charges, right, since the payment was not done on time. So these type of problems comes when you do not have a automated solution in place to post the vendor invoices. Okay. So here we can see the what are the different challenges in a non-automated invoice solution. So like there is a large amount of manual activity for approvals and exception, right? So you have to manually check for each detail, like if the tax amount is correct, if the document date is correct, if the what you say, the reference number, the invoice number is correct, if the supplier has the send the legit invoice and all. So different checks needs to be performed manually by a person. Then it we have chances of duplicate payments and postings, right? And invoices getting lost. So there can be chances that I am a vendor, I am sending the invoice. Today I sent the invoice. Okay, the same invoice I will be sending one after 1 month again. Okay, it can be by mistake or it can be a fraud. So both the invoices, as a manual process, it's not capable for a human being that to have the memory of the invoice which they posted 1 year ago or 1 month ago. It can be a challenge for some people. So in this way, what will happen, the same invoice will be posted 2 times and the payment will be released 2 times for the same invoice, right? This and then this is a big financial loss for the companies. So these are the different challenges. Then there's unpredictable variation in workload. So it might be the situation that in the month from the month of January to April, it's very busy. You are getting lots of invoices to be processed, but from April to December there are less number of invoices coming. So you cannot hire just for the month of January to April more people and ask them to leave after April, right? It is unpredictable variation of workloads. It can be also a situation in a non-automated solution. Then we have the audit and compliance concerns. So since like the invoice which was sent by the vendor has been touched by many people, right, on the email. So uh, today it's not a difficult process to edit a PDF invoice, right? the you can fake the PDF, you can change the amount, and these type of things can happen since the invoice is being sent to many other roles. Like it has come to mail room, then it will go to account take, then to approver. So there are chances of mistake and error there. Okay, then there is a low visibility of volume data. So you have to manage the countings, right? How many invoices was posted on this month, how many posted was in the last year. So you need to keep the records. So that is also a hectic process if you are doing it manually. And also the time taken for posting one invoice will be very high than in an non-automated solution. Then you need a skilled high workforce. So the person has to have a very good knowledge of the invoice process to be able to process the invoice, right? Because all the checks needs to be done manually in the non-automated solution. So the person needs to know about each and everything of the invoice. So and that way you need to hire the high skilled force for that. So that is also a challenge in a non-automated solution. Okay, now this is the invoice process with Vim. Okay, so how Vim solves this problem, we will see that. But before jumping on that, let me tell you why basically we start the Vim was integrated, and why Vim we want to use Vim, even if we can post the same vendor invoices in the SAP itself. Okay, so now there is a standard transaction called as Miro, MIRO. Many of you might be knowing this transaction. So what is the purpose of this transaction? This transaction is a SAP standard transaction to post the in- incoming vendor invoices. You can post the vendor invoices using this transaction in the SAP. Okay, and that can be posted. The same task is done with Vim also. Okay, so why Vim? Why not use the standard SAP transactions to post the invoice? Right. Now let's understand. So this Miro transaction do not have capability to extract the data automatically. Okay, you will have to enter each field here manually. So you will have to give the uh, different values to each field. Like give the invoice date, then you have to manually give the invoice number. Okay, and many more details, all the details which needs to be required for posting the invoice, you will have to populate those fields with the values. If you are using a purchase order, then you will have to give the purchase order number here. Okay, if you are having some unplanned cost and all, you will have to give that in the details in the GL account tab. Okay, so mostly like all the details you will have to provide on this screen. When the invoice is posted using Miro, it does not check, it does not do many validations. Okay, so if you are using a tax code, okay, which is not correct, the Miro will not tell you that this is not an incorrect tax code, or you are using a wrong reference number, or if you leave this if I want to make any field as mandatory, so suppose in the payment tabs, okay, so the reference field here is mandatory. Okay, now I want to make this terms field as mandatory, but out of the box it is not a mandatory for Miro. Now when you post the invoice, it will be posted into the SAP system, but the payment terms field was left blank. Okay, so what will happen, there was no validation check done by the Miro to accommodate the and to check and to stop the invoice if the field was not already populated. The Miro does not have that capability. Okay, also, if I am the invoice processor processing this invoice, I am processing one invoice. Now what will happen if I have a problem related to tax, the tax code is not correct, or if I have a problem related to vendor, there is some problem with the vendor master data. What will I do? I will have to park this invoice and go back to the vendor master data team or the tax team to tell them the issue and wait for them to reply about the issue. Now, in this case, what will happen? Your manager will be thinking that you are the culprit here. You are sitting with the invoice and not processing the invoice at all. But the problem here actually was with the tax team and the vendor master data team. They have not done their job correctly, or there is some communication error in that, and some changes need to be done. So you will have to type the email. On the email, you will tell the problem, they will fix it and revert back. All this is a manual process. But with the introduction of Vim, what will happen? The first thing is that it will capture the data automatically from the invoice image. You do not need to worry about entering these details manually. Most of the fields will be captured from the invoice image itself. The second thing, you do not have to manually check these data validations and all. There is a concept called as exceptions in Vim, which will validate the data or validate the logic which has been provided in that particular exception. Based on the exception, if the logic fails, it will stop the invoice. It will not allow the system to post the invoice. Similarly, next thing is that what will happen with Vim is whenever you have a problem with some details related to invoice, it will route that invoice to that particular person based on the exception which has been triggered. Right. Now, suppose there was a tax code issue which has happened in Miro. So for this, what we did, we went to the tax team, sending an email, waiting for the response and all. That is not the case with Vim. So if the system has detected some exception that the tax code is not correct, and we have put a validation check for that tax code, it will automatically route the invoice to the tax person, which will be maintained in the system to handle the invoice from the tax perspective. Or even what you can do, you can send this invoice manually to the particular person from the particular tax team to look at the invoice and check like what is the problem with the invoice. And along with that, you can provide the comments like what do you need from that particular person, and all this will be recorded into the Vim system. Okay, all this will be recorded in the SAP. So from compliance and audit perspective also, you do not have to download an email confirmation and attach it here. That is not required. Everything can be handled the inside the vim system only for the invoice processing. Even attaching an image, or if you want to take approvals, everything will happen inside the vim. You just have to process it and post it. The document will be posted into the SAP. That is the reason why vim was introduced and why vim is being openly adapt getting adapted by large and medium companies in the market. And the reason why currently the ask for vim consultants has increased a lot. So these are the different capabilities it has provided. Along with that, it has many standard reports and all, so which we will be seeing. So I will just give you an idea the in how the invoice looks after the posting has been done. Okay. So this is on high level for now. This is one report of vim where you can see all the invoices which are being processed or posted into the system. Now let's take an example. This is an invoice which was posted. So here I can see the invoice image as well. So this was the invoice which was received. The data was extracted from this and it was posted. And after the posting, the accounting document was generated. So if I open this accounting document, it is the same accounting document which will be generated when you will be posting an invoice via Miro as well. Okay, which is a standard SAP transaction. So the difference is you cannot see any difference here if you are posting an invoice through Vim or if you are posting the invoice through Miro. The reason is that Vim works on top of Miro only. It uses the Miro screen in the background to populate all the data after the validation check is completed and then post the invoice. Okay, so the key note here is that you should remember that Vim has been built on top of the Miro. The problems which were being faced with the Miro, like simulation of the invoice to check the errors in detail, then taking the approvals, having the capability to automatically get the data from the invoice image, doing different validation checks, like if you want any custom validation check to be implemented, then it was not possible. So all these possibilities came with the introduction of vendor invoice management. Okay, and here you can see a typical flow, how it is done in the invoice process with Vim. So I am covering for now in high level. Later in the training sessions, we will go in detail at each and every step what is done. So basically, the supplier sends the invoice. They can send the invoice in different formats, IDOC, XML, PDF, anything. But in Miro, you cannot have this capability. You cannot receive the invoices in IDOC, XML, PDF out of the box. There is a possibility to do it by having the enhancements, but out of the box, it is not there. But with Vim, you get this capability out of the box. So once the vendor submits the invoice, it is received into the Vim system where the archiving will be done. That is like storing the invoice image. Okay. Then from the invoice image, the data will be recognized and it will be transformed into the SAP data. Okay, from the invoice image. So for that, we use another tool, OCR. Okay, then once the invoice recognition part is completed, then we have invoice verification, where the verification of the invoice will be done by the system. Okay, after the invoice verification is done, then if there are any exceptions or you want to reject the invoice, all those process will be happened in the Vim only. And after that, it will go for approval. So where if required the approvals, the approval will be done. And once the invoice is approved, it will be posted in the SAP system. The accounting document and the document will be generated, just like how you do it in the Miro screen. Okay, now I will stop here, but at the last, I just want to show you basically what are the topics and how we are going to have these training sessions actually. Okay, so basically we
Kumar,
will, yeah.
yeah, just 1 minute. So it mean to process that Vim invoicing, we have three method to do. One is like the by mirror image mirrors of that invoice copy, and with the archive. Another one is for OCR. Am I right?
No. So basically what happens, the archiving
Mhm.
is something, archiving concept we will cover it later, but it is on a high level. Just to tell you, archiving is a process of storing the invoice image.
Okay.
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 See,
Mhm.
why do we store the invoice image? For in the
So,
future, for
so
large,
is that the process of document processing and numbering the invoices?
you mean the archiving?
Yeah.
No, no. See, what happens? Um, the vendor invoice is the legitimate copy of the invoice, right? That is the source of truth. You cannot pay any amount to the vendor. How will you pay the correct amount to the vendor? Based on the invoice only, right? So that invoice needs to be stored in the into the system for the future purpose as well. Now from a year later today, you have an audit having, the audit peoples will come to your company. They will ask you, why did you pay this vendor this much amount? You will have the reason. The This is the invoice image which we received and it matches with the invoice, so we have paid this amount. So you need to store the invoice, right? At a certain point of time, while someone is approving the invoice, they might want to see the invoice. How is it possible if you don't have the invoice stored into the system? So that is a different process. For now, you can just think it of as a archiving, meaning storing the invoice image. Okay. Later on, you will see how this is stored, what is the purpose of storing this invoice and all. Okay. Basically, Vim from Vim, the invoices can come through any channel. We call it channel. So it can be an XML invoice. So if you take an example of Brazil, Brazil do not have PDF invoices now. Most Brazilian countries, or the what you say, the subdivision in Brazil, the different cities, they send the invoices in the form of XML. They are going for e-invoicing now. So they prefer to have the invoices created in XML format. So Vim has the capability to receive the invoice in XML as well. Now there can be a third party system which is generating the invoices automatically. Okay. So that can be generated in the form of iDocs. So Vim can process the invoices from iDoc as well. So these are basically different channels which can be used by the vendor to send the invoice, and Vim can handle those invoices and process it. But this is not flexible with Miro and all. You in Miro you do not have the capability to receive the invoices and all. You have to manually enter all the details to post any invoice, right? Okay. Any questions?
No, I guess we are good.
Okay. So now basically as part of these training sessions, what we are going to cover is first the overview, like these are the things which we covered, like then we are going to see the Vim components and what is the architecture of Vim. Basically what are the different components which needs to be there for the Vim. In this I will be covering the installation part also. On a high level I will tell you the installation parts, what are the installation steps and all. Then we will be covering the mandatory configurations which are required for a Vim system. Then we will see a scenario for PO invoice processing, which will cover these. And then we have a non-PO invoice processing. Also, we will see how approvals are done in the Vim and what is the configuration steps. Then we see the different channels. What are the different channels? Then we will have a very high level introduction of reports and the background jobs which are there in Vim. Okay, and the last will be the information extraction service, which is the OCR tool. So we will see how the OCR setup needs to be done to extract the data automatically from the invoice image. Okay, so in these training sessions, mostly what I will be doing, what is my perspective of providing the training is like you people should be aware of the configurations rather than going more into the theoretical part. We should do the configurations and you should be able to understand like how this configuration is going to impact the business process, right? So for that, what I have also done, I have created one case study as well. So with the help of case study, we will try to understand what basically happens in a workshop. Okay, how the Vim project is implemented step by step, and deep dive into the configurations, right? What are the configurations required? What are the capabilities Vim do have, and where we can activate those capabilities. Apart from these agenda, what you see, I will be providing you questions related to the interviews. Okay, so we whenever we have discussions, we can note down the questions, and from the perspective of interviews, I will be telling you what can be asked on those particular topics. Okay, and if you have any suggestions or you want to know anything else, so my suggestion is will be to keep these sessions interactive. The more number of questions you have about the process, that will be good. So I will not be very sticked to this agenda only and going one by one from this agenda, but we will be covering more from implementation perspective. What are the different, uh, obviously, like all these points will be covered, but apart from these, I will let you explore this system more. So these are something from my last training sessions as well. So we have what we did, we decided what are the different questions we can have in the workshops, right? Then the configurations, how we can do the configurations, we will do the configurations in the system itself. How we can place an automation, what are the different enhancements which can be asked by your client for doing. So whenever I am covering each configuration node or each configurations, I am covering the enhancements as well. So what are the different custom solutions or enhancements that can be made at that particular point. And but the better way to do it with is an example which I have gained from my experience. What are the different enhancements or customizations which can be asked by any clients, and you should be aware where you can accommodate those requirements into the Vim system. Okay.
Kumar,
Yep.
Devin here this side. So just one doubt actually, it is a small question, okay? So it means only AP process can be handled in BIM. There is no AR concept, like no accounts receivable. It's
That
a
is
part of
correct.
SD.
That is
Okay.
correct. We do not, Vim do not have a capability to post the customer invoices out of the box.
Okay.
For that, you will have to do the enhancements, but this is not totally recommended. If anyone asks to do this, I have been working with a client where AR invoices was also being posted through Vim, but that required a very complex enhancements. And when the upgrade happened, all those details were lost. Since this is not a product owned
Okay.
scenario only, even if you go to OpenText, so OpenText also implements this system for the clients. The OpenText is also not going to support. See, out of the box, everything is possible, right? Sorry, with the custom developments, everything is possible, correct? But this is not recommended. This is only for vendor invoices, not for customer invoices. It should be more of AP side. AR side we do not entertain in the Vim.
So does
Understood.
this coursework also includes open text archive server and extended ECM?
No, So for archive server, from the perspective of Vim, what is required, I will show you, but we will not deep dive into the archiving, right? Basically, archiving is something, so OpenText Archive Server is another product, and other consultants are there for archiving who handle this product. So that person is basically the archive consultants. So we will not be covering the archiving solution, but yeah, from the Vim perspective, what is required, how a connection is established between the archive server and Vim, those things we will see it definitely.
Okay,
And for
on
extended DCM, we are not going to have extended DCM.
so external DCM, it is also like the other one besides VIM, or is it related to VIM?
So extended ECM, I can tell you it's basically about the content management. Okay. Uh, we can activate or we can use extended ECM along with Vim as well. Okay. But out of 100 projects, you will find either one or two using the extended ECM. For if you ask me, I have never worked with extended ECM along with Vim. That was not required for my clients, and I believe Chevron is one of the very big clients, so they have also not implemented extended ECM and all. We just go with the archiving solution, and Vim should be enough. You do not need to have the extended ECM, but that depends on client to client, right? If you
Okay.
have a requirement, then it can happen. But from a perspective of Vim consultant, the Vim consultant do not have knowledge of extended ECM and all, or
Okay.
the archiving side. They are just focused on the Vim side. Y-
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, one quick question, Kumar. So when you say archive, so the invoice will be archived in the open text software, not into the SAP, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because this is for the record retention for various reasons, for audit purpose or some other thing.
Correct.
Okay, great. And to receive the vendor invoices to the open text software.
Hmm.
So these suppliers will directly send, right, the invoices in different formats, in different forms, also like emails or scan documents. And what will be the source? Just wanted to know that.
Yes. So that is a good question actually, and that we will cover it later on. But to tell you for now, let
Hmm.
me go here. So this is
Just
going to be
just
the
high level
entry
information
point
can be.
ingestion. So suppose you are the vendor, you are
Hmm.
sending me the invoice. Now you can send me the invoice either in XML, PDF, or TIFF, whatever format you want to do, or you will manually scan the invoice and send it to me, right?
Hmm.
So there is a configuration in Vim for the channels, okay,
Okay.
where we define the different channels, how we will be receiving the invoices. So let me show you here quickly. So if I go here, inbound configuration, document handler, registration. So here we have different registration types: early archiving, inbound idoc, incoming email, pipeline, custom, and all. Okay. So let's take an example of incoming email, which is a widely used channel. So 90% of the invoices for any companies, clients, come from the email channel, or it can be through Ariba as well, right? So Ariba nowadays are is very widely being used. So let me tell you one thing more, that with Vim has a standard integration with Ariba channel. You do not have to do any sort of integration to receive the invoices from Ariba. Ariba can directly send the invoices to Vim. There is a standard configuration and standard development is there, so you do not have to need to do any customization for to be able to receive the invoices from the Ariba network. Okay.
Hmm.
But for like email, so now the vendor will be sending, so that we will be covering in the setup, like how incoming channel setup is done. But
Okay.
the vendor will be sending an invoice to a particular email address of the client
Hmm.
where they receive
Okay.
the invoices. Now from that particular in when email ID, the invoice will be routed to the SAP
Right.
systems,
Yeah,
and it
understood.
will be registered in the SAP with using this email ID. So
Okay.
these
So
are the
then it
things
will
we will be,
automatically go to VAM. Yeah.
yeah,
To
these are the
open
things we
this.
will be seeing later on when we jump into the configurations. Okay,
Mm.
how we do the configurations, where we need to do these type of configurations on and all. So I don't mostly this PPT is for your future purpose. I will tell you, this PPT and these recordings you can refer for the future purpose. For now, the most important thing which I believe is knowing the business scenario, what is the business scenario, and behind that scenario, how you need to accommodate it using the configuration. So mostly I will be focusing on that. Will not spend a lot of time going through each PPT and points, but yeah, surely with each topic we will cover first, start first with the PPT, and later on jump onto the system more to learn about the process.
Understood.
Yeah,
So the duration of these classes are like 2 months, 3 months. What kind of plan we have?
I think 30 hours should be more than enough
Okay.
to complete this training sessions. The reason why I tell you is once these sessions are completed, I will be providing you the Bible for Vim. So with that guides, the standard guides, which you cannot find it on Google and you cannot go and download it like that. It's the open text guide where you will find each details of the configuration. So once you are aware of the business process, where to accommodate the changes, you are good to go and use the guides for performing any configurations. You don't have to worry about what you will what if you forgot the configurations and all. Everything is there in the guide. It's like a Bible for us. For a Vim consultant, the open text guides are Bible. If you are a good reader, you don't need a training also if you go for open text guides. So the only problem is very, very lengthy. You cannot focus that much. But it covers all each and every points. So I will be sharing those guides with you as well in the last. But yeah.
Okay, and how about the class schedules? So it's gonna be every weekend or is it every day?
That you can check with Subbu. Actually, the target is we can have it every day in the morning. It's if it's feasible for all you people all, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we can extend these classes to weekends as well if it is required. Okay, but 30 hours to be accurate, like will be all we will need to cover the training session.
Okay.
Yeah,
One last question.
yeah.
So, which country has demand for this role?
So, Surendra, like from my experience, what I will say, like I have been seeing these projects most in the Europe, US, and Middle East countries. Okay, yeah, most of them are looking for this because I have traveled to these countries as well. I see the demand is very high for the European countries actually. Okay, so yeah, this is this is a product which is not widely used by small companies because it's
Yeah,
a expensive one. So basically, you will see medium to large scale companies. On the hand, I can tell you Walmart, even Google. Google also uses vendor invoice management. Okay, so the last company which I was working on, we have implemented the vendor invoice management for Google, and
And I
Walmart
think
is.
most of the pharma companies are also implementing Vim.
Yeah, not only pharma, Shanmukh, it will be like all the big players of the market
Yeah.
needs a centralized system to process and post the invoices. They do not want to have these manual efforts and then do, keep paying penalties. See, in the manual process, the most challenging thing is penalty. they will have to pay the penalty if the payment is not made on time, if it is an urgent payment, or they have a chance of duplicacy. So in my last project Chevron, there was a very huge problem of duplicate invoices getting posted into the system. So these are very much impact the business for the big and the medium companies. That is the reason this is being used by medium and large clients mostly. Almost every client you name it, whether it's Volvo, IKEA, Walmart, Google, I already said. Then we have agrochemicals company. Then we have manufacturing company, packaging company, even the traveling company. Booking.com is one of the major player using the vendor invoice management, and there are many, a lot. So that is the reason why the demand has increased, but we do not have much resources. So that is being beneficial for us actually. So to find a job in Vim, it's not that difficult.
Um, Generally, when we are ready with all the training, and after when we get the training, when we practiced everything, when we go for interview, do they expect any SAP certification for this, or is that okay? Well equipped with the knowledge of this SAP VIM, and then we can get ahead for the interviews. How is that like?
Certification is not a mandatory thing, Giri. Well, that I can assure you. It's good to have, but it's not a mandatory thing.
So
Okay.
now this Vim is a add-on on SAP.
Hmm.
Who will have to certify? Whether it is SAP has
Open
to
text.
certify or OpenText has to certify?
Open text will certify.
Okay.
And this is a open book exam, let me tell you. You can
Mm-hmm.
have your laptop open on one side with the guides and you can give the exam. You can sit with 5 persons and give the exam. It is not a proctored assessment. Okay, that is the flexibility with OpenText vendor invoice management. You do not have to give a proctored like we give it in SAP.
Yeah.
It's not the case. The camera and all, it's not there. You can even do a screen sharing, but the level of question is made that. So yeah, but with the guides, once I will show you the guides, you people will be a fan of the open text guides. You would not see it in SAP or any other products. The guides they provide you, it's very very useful.
And those guides are from OpenText or from SAP?
Yes, it's from open text. With each version they release guides, and there is like I think 10 or 12 guides total that serves different purposes. Like installation guide is different, configuration guide is there, reference guide, scenario guide, then user guide, like this. So each guide
And
serves different purpose.
right, the current training which we are gonna understand with you will be is designed with an intention that the consultant has to work on S4 HANA architectural kind of landscape, or it will be on ECC. How is it like?
So Giri, as I said, like it doesn't matter to a Vim consultant, it is S4 HANA or it is ECC. The configurations and everything is going to remain the same. The screen, the layout, everything is going to be the same. It doesn't matter for us to whether the client is going for S4 HANA or ECC. It's their choice. We implement Vim similarly for both ECC and S4 HANA.
So
The
you mean the
architecture and everything
configuration?
is remain.
Okay, so the configuration remains the same whether it is ECC or S4HANA in case of VIM.
Correct, that is correct. But we will be covering for S4 HANA only, since this is the ongoing and clients are migrating from ECC to S4. But yeah, just to give you a high level, it doesn't matter for us whether it is ECC or S4 HANA. Basically, the product version can be different. Like for ECCP, you cannot run 23.4 SP2, right? It's going to be S4 HANA. For ECC, older version will be there. Okay.
Kumar,
Yeah.
what kind of job roles can a fresher get after learning them?
So mostly Venkatesh, here you can target for the implementation projects, or you can go for the support projects as well. But my recommendation will be to start with the support. At least you grasp some more experience, then move ahead with the implementation as well. So basically, it's going to be consultant roles only, which is provided.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should they focus on learning among and FA also?
No, no. They focus just to implement the VIM system. They don't need to worry about the FI and MM side. FI and MM, we have a different set of consultants, right? FI and MM consultants. They need to worry about that. You need to worry about only VIM as a VIM consultant. Okay. So I will just wrap up this session now, and you can check with Subbu for further details if you need. Okay. Thank you all for joining this session. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.